Why do we allow ourselves to get sucked into the negativity? And worse, why do we allow negativity to become the frame with which we see the world, where we begin to believe that everybody is that way? We sort of talked about it the last podcast about how I was confronted with all this negativity about just being positive about our 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. And so I started digging a little bit deeper about negativity on the internet, negativity on message boards and whatnot. And I found some really interesting things, not just on how much negativity there is, but how it impacts us and what we need to be aware of, okay? Now, one of the first things is it's really easy to believe that this negativity we see online, and all you got to do is look in the comment section of any YouTube video, of any Facebook post, and you see people talking hate, and you start thinking like we're just in this negative world, but we're really not. What we're in is a world where a handful of people are very negative, and they are amplified and have the loudest voice, and we begin to think that they are everybody when they're really not. So there was a Pew Research Center poll, and these two polls, I found these two stats, and they kind of go hand in hand. One shows how we feel, and then the other shows the reality of it. So basically found that 41% of adults reported experiencing some form of online harassment. That's a lot, okay? I experienced it. 25% experienced more severe forms, such as physical threats, stalking, sexual harassment, sustained harassment, okay? And then you start thinking, man, it's a scary world. Everybody's crazy. You know, I've noticed that as much as I fly and travel, people are nervous to talk to strangers. It was not that way 10 or 15 years ago. 10 or 15 years ago, where I traveled just as much, you'd look at the average person you were sitting to, and you could tell, oh, they're kind of bored. They wouldn't mind a conversation. You look at that same person now, and they're like, whoop, back to my book. They're a little intimidated. You know why? Because half of them have experienced like toxicity online. So then to show the reality of that, okay, which is eye-opening, there was a 2025 PNAS Nexus paper, okay, and what it found was that Americans dramatically overestimate the percentage of people who are posting the toxic content. So if I say that someone's posted something toxic about me, that's reality. So 41% of the people say that, probably 41% of the people have experienced the toxicity. But how many are doing it? So they went and looked at the platform, and what they found, though, is that 3.1% of Reddit accounts posted toxic content, yet they accounted for 34% of all the content. So think about it. You have all this toxic content being promoted by like 3% of the people. And then it makes us begin to think everybody's toxic. Everybody's out to get us. Everybody's looking to criticize me. And then the next thing you know, we're walking down the street. We don't look at strangers. Or we don't post something positive on a comment we see to give somebody a win because we're afraid the next person's going to come behind us and say we're an idiot. Or we're in an airport and we don't talk to somebody. And we allow the 3% to basically drive the narrative of all of this. And what's really insidious about it is that algorithms, okay, they don't promote content based on the wisdom of it or the accuracy of it, or does that make you a better person if you follow it? They boost content based on one thing, the reaction. And negative gets a reaction, okay? Walk down the street and say hi to somebody. You may or may not get a reaction. They may be scared of you. Walk down the street, punch somebody in the face. You're going to get a reaction, okay? Now, the same study found that Twitter X's engagement-based ranking algorithm amplified emotionally charged, outgroup, hostile content more than a reverse chronological feed. What that means is it rewards outward. Boom! It rewards hostility. And really all social media is that way, because what they want to be able to do is go to their advertisers and they want to be able to go, this got 1,000 clicks, this got 1 million clicks, this has got 10 million followers. And they don't care how they get there. Now this is where it becomes dangerous to us, to ourselves. Our brain, we always want to make sense of our environment. okay? We always want to make sense of our place in it, to protect ourselves, to survive, that survival instinct. So what happens, because we're all on our phone and we're all on the internet, we see this negativity, we think it's the world around us, we think we got to protect ourselves, and our brain begins to complete or create a cognitive loop based on believing that that is reality, okay? We are wired to notice threats. And then what happens, the 3% hijack our survival instinct, and we begin to think that everybody is a threat, okay? We remember threats, and the internet gives us tons of threats. And so then what happens? Even normal people, people that aren't toxic, people that don't post bad things, we begin to see everybody and everything as a threat, and our thinking becomes hardwired that way. Okay? It becomes hardwired. And then what happens? Those negative comments now take on even more power, because now we're looking for them. Now they just didn't happen upon us. We're looking for them. And then what happens to us? The negative social media comments increase our anxiety, decrease our mood compared to people that aren't looking at it. So, whether it is about us or not, just the fact those comments are there. They might not have posted on our feed, said anything about us, but the fact that we are in that environment and we are watching it and we are reading it, it makes us negative, it makes us reactive, it makes us feel threatened. And then this is the worst part of it. It becomes spiritual. We begin to think the world is that way, okay? It becomes normal. Suspicion, cynicism, anger, distrust becomes normal because of what 3% of a-holes do, of people with no lives, sitting in their home, with no power, looking for things to criticize. They begin to set the table for the whole world. Now, what do we do about it? What do we do about it? What is the antidote to that? I briefly talked about it last time, what I'd seen in prisons, but it's true. You know what the antidote to that is? It is gratitude. Gratitude is the true resistance to negativity. It is every time you see something negative or someone throws something at you negative, you find something to be thankful for. You walk down the street, someone you don't even know gives you a dirty look, you immediately go, man, that's a pretty tree. Man, I'm feeling great today. Man, it's a sunny day. Man, I got $2 in my pocket. I can go give me an ice cold Diet Pepsi. You got to learn to deflect to the positive. You need to learn to defect to gratitude. You don't resist with power. You don't resist with punching them in the nose. You resist by being grateful. Grateful is an aphrodisiac for positivity. Now, what are the questions that you want to ask yourself when you see negativity? You know, you want to process in your brain, because a lot of times these are just random things. It might be a bunch of people being negative because we lost a soccer match, yesterday. It might be people being negative because they're upset with what some politician said or did. And you always want to filter that with questions like, is this important? Am I rewarding them? Am I benefiting that person? Are they being negative so they get more hits and more likes? By me reacting to it, am I actually benefiting the negative person? I don't want to benefit them. You know how I don't benefit them? I turn it off. I don't comment. I look for somebody positive, okay? But you want to be a rebel? I always grew up as a kid here in Indiana, and there was, especially when I was younger, not as much now, everybody knew James Dean, and what was James Dean seen as this rebel, rose up from his small community, went to California, he was a rebel, okay? I think there's a part of us that always wants to do that because we kind of know the man is coming against us. I think we also have this battle, with our individuality against the society that we're in, okay? I think it's also our survival instinct. We think survival is we got to fight. But you want to know what the best rebellion is in a world like we're in today? Is just to be grateful. Is just to be happy and just to be good. Is you go to the store, you go for an appointment, you could be going to the dentist, you could be going to work, be nice to people. Look around you and see how few people are that way nowadays. Look around you. Just open your eyes, get off your phone, and look and see how few people walk around with a smile on their face, walk around talking to other people, thanking other people. You want to be a real rebel? You don't do it by being dark and moody and difficult like everybody is, okay? That's like being one of the sheep. You want to be a true rebel? Be nice, be kind, be good. Fight negativity with gratitude. And regardless of how you're feeling, if you're sitting there on a computer or a phone and you got an internet connection and you're able to watch this video, there is no way you don't have something that you can be grateful about. So as we get a little bit further away from the 4th of July and we remember our forefathers who were truly rebels, why don't you take on the new rebellion and show gratitude and just be good and kind? I'm Silouan. It's great to be with you. Peace.